Hey, this is the chair guy. Someone recently messaged me asking how I'd come up with the chair system in the first place, and that got me on a little trip down memory lane into my old phone, where I found this note of mine from May 22nd, 2019. I don't think that was actually the date. I think I must have updated it at some point and it changed the date, because I remember this was actually very late at night and I had been thinking about these shapes and this just kind of popped into my head and I couldn't find a piece of paper, so I put it in a note, which may be one of the most geeky things I've ever done. And the way I came up with this shape that was just floating around in my head was actually because I'd gotten a hold of ScaleBank. And from a video by Marty Schwartz, I had learned this extended scale, this extended pentatonic scale, and I found that I could just play up and down on it much easier than the boxes. And in looking at it on this ScaleBank app, I was able to see why. Because I had these identical shapes where I could play minor for some reason much easier, because they were all the same shape and it just for some reason clicked with my head better. And then because this was such an easy app to use, I figured out some other things, like the fact that I could just switch to G, for instance. And G being the relative major of E minor, or E minor is the relative minor of of G, depending how you want to look at it. I had the exact same notes in the exact same positions. I was just switching to a different root, and that made some major light bulbs go off in my head. And this was when I first started coming up with what I now call the chair system, because of course I realized that it looked kind of like a sideways chair. And of course, in time, I started looking at them this in an extended way. I started adding in the two extra notes and using what I now call these thrones instead of just the chairs. But I just thought that was really kind of interesting, because I can't believe that it all started out with this silly little sketch of mine, which looks kind of like a sideways chair. And just for the record, neither Marty Schwartz nor ScaleBank paid me to do this. These were all just parts of my own process and how I came up with the system.